So what does Amber Guyger, Joe Biden, and Darius Sessoms have in common? Black. Let's debrief. Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. You are tuned into the Debrief with your girl, me, Nova. If you are a returning subscriber, then you already know the vibes. And if you are new, what took you so long to get here? Welcome. I'm hopeful you'll join the family. So, how has everybody's week been? Are you preparing for the new week? By the time this video uploads, it'll be Sunday. But I wanted to come on here and talk to you about 3 cases we have to debrief on today. And they all circle around the topic of black. Interesting. Without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so the first case that we're going to debrief is Amber Guyger. Okay, so if you do not know who Amber Guyger is, all right, she is the former Dallas police officer that was charged in the murder of Botham Jean back in 2019. Okay, the murder took place back in 2018. And she was convicted in 2019 and sentenced to 10 years, okay? Now, the story surrounding the murder is Botham Jean was an unarmed black man in his apartment, minding his business, eating a bowl of cereal. Okay, now Amber's defense team argued that she mistakenly walked into his apartment thinking that it was her apartment, and when she saw him, she felt that there was an intruder and she had to defend herself, which led to her ultimately shooting and killing Jean. Now, this story made national headlines, okay? The defense argued that, she had every right to defend herself because she was in the mindset that she was in her apartment. Now, the prosecution argued that Amber should have recognized the signs while proceeding into this apartment. Okay, there was a red doormat that signified that this wasn't her apartment. Her key fob didn't work for this apartment door. Ultimately, I believe the apartment door was left open. She walks in. And the bullet trajectory showed that the gunshot was a downward motion, which the prosecution argued showed that Jean posed no immediate threat to Amber, in essence, because he was eating a bowl of cereal. Nonetheless, this went national. There is a lot of viewpoints on this. I, for one, believe she's guilty as charged. I don't care what anyone says, but she was convicted, I think in 2nd-degree murder, if I'm not mistaken, and she was sentenced to 10 years, okay? And this trial took place back in 2019. All right, now, recently, her lawyers have filed an appeal to overturn the conviction. All right. Now, the lawyers are arguing the evidence was legally insufficient to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Guyger committed murder because, 1, through mistake, Guyger formed a reasonable belief about a matter of fact, that she entered her apartment and there was an intruder inside. And 2, her mistaken belief negated the culpability of murder because although she intentionally and knowingly caused Jean's death, she had the right to act in deadly force in self-defense since her belief that deadly force was immediately necessary and was reasonable under the circumstances. Okay, so her lawyers are saying that she should have faced a charge of negligent homicide if charged at all. So in the state of Texas, negligent homicide carries a penalty of 180 days up to 2 years with the possibility of parole. All right, I've said all that. What are we thinking? Do you think Amber is going to win that appeal? Okay, here are my thoughts on the situation. First and foremost, I'm surprised that she was convicted at all. I'll be very honest with you. I thought we were going to have another George Zimmerman on our hands. Similar case with the Trayvon Martin situation, okay? I was shocked that they even convicted her. I'm happy that they convicted her, but I was shocked. Now, I do feel like the 10-year sentence, honestly, in my opinion, was a slap in the face. I feel like it was all right, we're going to put this conviction on her of 10 years, and that should satisfy the masses. I truly believe that the only reason that she was convicted is to show and appease the Black community. All right. I want to say back in 2019, Dallas was up for their elections in the court system. I feel like that played a role in it. But honestly, I mean, the way they were coddling Amber was beyond belief. Okay. Now, once Amber filed this appeal, you know, the mother, she's standing 10 toes down. You know, the family is upset that she's filing this appeal. But I have to be honest, I think she's gonna win this overturning of the conviction, because they coddled that heifer through the entire trial. You had the Black bailiff sitting there making sure Amber's hair was nice for trial. After the conviction, you had the judge get up off her bench and hand Amber a Bible, all right? Then you had the brother of Jean out in the public saying how he forgave Amber and that he hoped that she turn her life over to Christ. Now, I'm not saying you can't forgive. Absolutely. That is what God says. Let's forgive those who have done wrong. However, with the coddling that took place in this trial, honestly, I feel like that has created the opportunity for whoever is presiding over the appeal to take that into consideration. I'm sorry. I believe that, and not even a year later, Amber is filing an appeal. Interesting. But I'll be honest, I think she's going to get that appeal. I think she's going to come up out of jail. She's going to write some book. She's going to be... Now, who is contacting me? Okay, that's my fault, y'all, because I didn't put my phone on mute. Anywho, I think she is going to get the appeal. She's going to come up out of her jail term a free woman. She'll write a book. She'll do some kind of press run. She'll become some social media influencer of whatever. And then, she'll make $1 million and go on about her business. That's what I think. What do you think? All right. Moving on. Joe Biden, y'all. Now, Joe Biden has recently come out and announced that Kamala Harris is going to be his running mate for VP. What are our thoughts? I mean, here's what I think. In terms of Joe Biden, well done, Joe Biden. This was clearly a strategic move on his behalf. Let's be honest. Joe Biden doesn't really have the solid support from the Black community. He's definitely ruffled some feathers in our community, and I think the numbers were showing Joe that there was a possibility that he may not be able to win this race against Trump. So I think him naming Kamala Harris is his strategic move and guaranteeing the black vote while making history at the same time, seeing as how Kamala Harris would be the first woman in office. Okay. But what do we think about Kamala Harris? Now, there's definitely been some controversy surrounding Kamala Harris. All right. A lot of people are starting to come out of the woodworks about Kamala and then in her time during her prosecuting years. All right. So Kamala was a prosecutor, I want to say from like 2000, maybe 6 to 2011. And she has been labeled of somewhat of a crooked prosecutor. People are coming out saying that she's wrongfully convicted many of persons. She had a huge scandal back in 2010 where a lab technician was skimming cocaine, all right, and mishandling evidence. All right. And so the judge ruled that Kamala's office failed to notify the defense lawyers about the mishandling of evidence and that technician who was skimming cocaine. And that ultimately led to roughly more than 600 drug-related cases to be tossed out. Okay, so she has had some controversy. I did read a report where I think almost 1,500 cases that Kamala prosecuted were for minor offenses that were like drug-related, like marijuana, for example. So she's definitely under, scrutiny right now. A lot of people are questioning if Kamala Harris is black. I mean, in my opinion, the background of Kamala, she is Jamaican and of Indian descent. She looks the part. I apply the one drop rule. So in my book, she black. But what do you think? Are we happy with Kamala Harris? I mean, regardless if you don't like Joe Biden at all, I think one of the controversies, surrounding Joe and the black community, for example, he had an interview with Charlemagne the God. And he made this statement that, if you don't vote for him, then you're not black. And people went, they were so upset with what Joe stated. And truth be told, I wasn't mad one bit, okay? I truly believe that. I think the problem was for Joe Biden, it was the right message, wrong messenger. Since I'm black, I'll be the one to say it. At the end of the day, I think, it's very confirmed that we have a strong dislike for Donald Trump and we want him out of office. All right. Especially among the black community. So if you don't vote for Joe Biden, then you can't be black. I get what he's saying there. You can't be in a position to say, I don't like Trump, I don't like Joe, so I'm not voting at all. We cannot afford persons to just not vote because, quiet as it's kept, Trump has a very strong support system, okay? I truly believe that Trump actually has a fighting chance to win this next presidency. So we need all hands on deck to get out and vote for Joe. We may not like Joe, but God damn it, he's the best we have right now. So, and to be honest with you all, I don't think we can, I don't know about you, but me, for example, I can't even focus on, what's Joe going to do for tax reform, education, economic growth. At this point, honestly, I don't even really care because my main focus is to get Trump out of office. I'm sorry, but that's where we're at right now. So Kamala Harris, welcome to the team. I mean, that's all I have to say about that. Now, what the true tea is going to be, I'm going to be here for the run because we all know that Trump likes to come for people's necks. And I know he is going to drag Kamala Harris up and down. But we also know that Kamala Harris has a strong disdain for Trump. And I know she is going to battle him all the way down, okay? She's going to fight dirt with dirt. And you know what, honey? I am looking forward to that. That's going to be interesting. So whether you like Kamala Harris or not, I think Joe did a damn good job. This was a strategic move on his behalf. And you know what? I'm not mad about it. I'm not at all. I don't know, but you guys tell me what you think. All right, moving on to my last topic. Now, this one ruffled my feathers some, and that's the reason why I want to talk about it today. Okay, so if you do not know, there is a hashtag going around on social media. It has not made national attention, but I think it'll get there. I don't know. The hashtag is Justice for Canon. Now, if you do not know, Canon Hinton was a 5-year-old little boy who was shot and killed last week. So this event took place August 9th in Wilson, North Carolina. A 25-year-old alleged suspect, Darius Sessoms, came up, walked over to the boy, and shot him. Neighbors reported that he just walked over while the boy was on his bike and shot him execution style. All right. Now, I want to say this first. Darius Sessoms is a black man. All right. The very next day, Darius was arrested and he was charged with first-degree murder. So, you know, this is a very sad situation because that little boy was 5 years old. And, you know, as a parent, you know, you want justice for Canon. All right. Now, what's interesting is the hashtag Justice for Canon that is starting to circulate in social media. I am going to read you a post that, I'll be honest, ruffled my feathers, okay? And now there's this debate going on, and I want to talk about it. So I'm not going to disclose who posted this, all right? I have a little bit of respect not to blast this person, but it's not going to be too many more times I'm going to see some bull crap like this, and then I'm going to just start outing people because this is some bull crap. So I'm going to read it, and then I'll come back with the rest of my commentary. Canon Hinton, say his name, say it again. The whole nation stood together in solidarity for the senseless death of George Floyd. So I'm curious, how many will stand together in solidarity and demand justice for the senseless murder of Canon Hinton? Did 5-year-old Canon's life not matter? He was 5 years old. He was white. This past Sunday, he was riding his bike in front of his house, and Darius Nathaniel Simmons, a 27-year-old black male, walked up, shot and killed Canon execution style in the head at point-blank range. A 5-year-old white boy was shot in the face at point-blank range and murdered by a 27-year-old black male on purpose for no other reason than being white. Did you read that? A 5-year-old white boy was shot in the face at point-blank range and murdered by a 27-year-old black male on purpose for no other reason than being white. Why does one life matter so much it captures our nation, but no one is talking about 5-year-old Canon? I don't want to look away. I hope you can't. I want to know why this little boy and this senseless murder is not just as important. Who is going to paint Canon on the side of a building? What national sports team is going to wear t-shirts with his name on them? Every single person should be demanding justice for Canon, the little 5-year-old boy who was murdered for no reason other than being white. Think about that. Look at his face. I'm so sick of hearing that only Black lives matter. The whole agenda is racism, and I'm not going to feel guilty for being white or shut up when the same thing is happening, but no one is talking about it because the color of their skin doesn't fit the agenda being pushed by the lunatics, liberals, and the mainstream media. Delete me, unfriend me on social media and in real life if you wish. It's okay. I do not care. I'm standing up for Canon Hinton. He and his life mattered. R.I.P. Little man. All right. We've heard that. We've read that. What are our thoughts? What are we thinking? So many things here, and it ruffles my feathers. First and foremost, as a parent, it hurt my heart to read that story, of a 5-year-old. I think what also is important is the very next day, Darius Sessoms was arrested. Okay. There was no video footage of this murder. No one pulled, the Ring camera footage of this murder. Neighbors reported what happened, and Darius was arrested again the very next day. So I think it's safe to say that justice is currently being served. Okay? The next thing I want to talk about is Black Lives Matter. A lot of times, people outside of my community seem to not understand what Black Lives Matter is and why it's so important. Okay? The organization was formed to continue to fight for justice for persons of color who were murdered, and no justice or no action has been taken. Okay? All right. Again, the very next day in Canon's situation, Darius was arrested. Okay? We are still seeking justice for Breonna Taylor, who was murdered back when in February or March of 2020. Okay. We had to protest and loot and tear this city down, okay, for justice in the murder of George Floyd back in May. A murder that was captured on a cell phone camera and plastered all through social media. The world observed this murder. That was a point blank period murder. And the next day, the persons responsible for those murders were not arrested. So we had to protest and fight to seek justice. Okay? And that took It took about almost 2 to 3 weeks before the officers were even arrested. And another week or so before the actual charges were announced. It took George Floyd's situation to bring justice for Ahmaud Arbery, who was murdered on his daily jog back in February of 2020. We didn't even get an arrest in his murder until June, but that happened because of the outcry of the situation with George Floyd. So I'm not going to disclose who this person is who wrote that, but I am going to call his ass to the red carpet. I need him to have a tall glass of shut the up. Okay? There's no need to plaster Cannon's face all over buildings or t-shirts, I mean, most certainly do so. But there's no need when the alleged murderer was arrested the very next day. See, what you fail to realize is when it is someone of the Caucasian background who is murdered, seems to be no time wasted arresting and charging the Black person that's responsible for that murder. Okay. Now, what's going to be really interesting is when the trial comes for Darius. I have no doubts that he will be convicted and sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. And if the death penalty is applicable in the state of North Carolina, I'm sure they will try him for that as well. And you know what? As well as they should. All right. That was a senseless act. No excuses. But let's be honest. If the tables were turned and it was a Black little boy and it was a white murderer, I'm sure a defense team would come in and say, pleading insanity, or, my client was under the influence. And the next thing you know, that person may get a slap on the wrist, similar to the Trayvon Martin case with George Zimmerman. Or maybe, 15 to 25 years. Let's not act like, this murder that took place is simply about racism, because for one, we don't have the facts of the case. Now, there are rumors that are alleging that Darius and Cannon's father were involved in drugs, okay, and that Darius was under the influence at the time of the murder. Now, that is no excuse whatsoever, but I say that all to say, you cannot confirm that the reason for Cannon's murder was because he was white. And I am so sick and tired of us. I'm so tired of us always relating this back to, when someone white is killed, we don't seem to care about their lives as much as we care about Black Lives Matter. Sir, all houses in the neighborhood matters. Okay, but if there's one house on fire, okay, at that point in time, we need to put out the fire on the house that's burning. I don't understand why people don't seem to get that. It's really bothersome to me. It's people with that kind of mindset that really makes it hard to look past color. Seriously. I am baffled at that response that unfortunate situation took place and we want to relate it back to white, Black Lives Matter, so forth. I think it's purely ridiculous. At the end of the day, the situation that took place with Cannon is unfortunate. I pray that they do convict the person responsible for the murder, but let's not turn this into he was murdered because he was white. He's a child. Let's not turn that into that when we don't even have the facts of the case. Okay, let's not turn, how come it's not getting national media? How come we're not plastering Cannon's name on t-shirts and buildings and so forth? Because at the end of the day, we don't have to go through great lengths to find justice and charge the murderer of Cannon, okay? Because he was arrested the very next day with at the word and the reports from the neighbors, okay? So you know what? I'm not going to put his full name out on here. I'm going to call him John Doe. John Doe, I need you to go have several seats, okay? I need you to have a tall glass or shut the fuck up, all right? If you do have any black friends, I hope they drag you for filth all over social media. I hope they unfriend you too, because the way you're thinking is absolutely ridiculous. And it's people like you that really make it hard for my community to coexist in society, dealing with the stupidity and mindset that you have. All right, I'm done. Whew. All right, let me take a sip. Okay, we discussed all 3 topics. It's interesting how all 3 topics tie back to black. I feel like everything seems to tie back to black, to racism. It's interesting. I don't know, but you guys tell me what you think. Tell me your thoughts. I want to know what you think about Amber's appeal. Do you think she's going to get the appeal? Do you think they're going to overturn her conviction? I really think they will. But what do you think? And in the case of Joe Biden, do you feel that Kamala Harris is a good candidate for vice president? Do you think Biden made a strategic move because he knows his votes in the black community are lacking? All right. And tell me, what do you think in the case of Canon? I think it's unfortunate, but I read you that post. I put out there kind of what are some of the views and the mindset of persons of the white community. What do you think about that? It's interesting. I want to know your thoughts. Anyways, I'll catch you guys on the next video. And until then, take care. Catch you later. Bye.